Welcome. In this tutorial, we're going to start to teach you how to make a poster, and we're going to make a poster similar to the one seen here on the screen. So we're going to put a gradient in the background, we're going to put a skyline in the foreground, create a box, and add text to our image. So first things first, I want you to open up Photoshop, and I want you to create a new file. So go to File, New, and then we're going to make a custom size. Let's call this one Poster. And we're going to have it 11 inches by 17 inches high at 300 pixels per inch resolution. We're going to have it as RGB color and with a white background. And then just click Create. So the first thing we need to do is add a gradient. So to do that, let's create a new layer. So go down here, create a new layer. Let's rename this Gradient. And then go over here to our gradient tool. So it could be in behind the paint bucket tool if it's not showing up immediately for you. Now up at the top here, you get a whole bunch of different options to edit your gradient. Photoshop has some really neat ones that are already pre-made in here. You can click through, see what those are like, but I'm going to just do a pink and an orange one. And if you want to adjust the colors at all, just click on the bottom square here and then click on the actual color itself and you can adjust the color. But I think I kind of like the pink, so I'm going to keep the pink there. And similarly with the orange side, you can do the exact same thing. And just click OK when you're ready. And then up along here, you get to choose the different types of gradients. Right now I've got linear gradient selected. You can choose radial, you can choose the angle, you can choose reflected or diamond. So just to demonstrate what the gradients look like, linear is just a nice smooth gradient. Now keep in mind, when you drag and click, that's the area that is going to be the gradient. So the shorter the area, the shorter the gradient. I can demonstrate that by doing a super short one. It looks almost like two color blocks. Similarly, with when you click through and choose different options, the radial gradient, you're going to get a circular pattern. The angle gradient goes from one color all the way around to the other. Reflected starts with one color and goes back to the first color. There we go. And then the diamond gradient creates a diamond pattern here. But since we're trying to mimic the poster, as shown here, we're going to just choose a linear gradient. Now, one thing to keep in mind, the longer the click, the more easy or gradual the gradient is. So I'm going to actually start outside of my poster. Oh, I'm still on diamond. Switch back to linear. I'm going to start outside my poster and go to the other side. And there you have it. You've got a nice gradual gradient. But what you'll notice is this color is much more intense. So what I'm going to do is just change the opacity of my gradient layer. When I bring that opacity down, you're going to see that the color gets a lot lighter, more similar to the poster that we're trying to mimic. Next, what I want you to do is open up a skyline image. So you can just pull one off the internet like I did here. And you're going to click Command A to select the entire image, Command C to copy it, and then go back to our poster and hit Command V. Now you'll notice that this has now copied the skyline to our poster, but the sizing is completely off. So hit Command T, that's our transform tool. You're going to be able to click and drag, and it's going to make this image larger for you. So just click and drag it, and then position it in a spot that you are satisfied with. And just hit enter. Now to get rid of this white background, there's a number of ways you can do it, but the easiest way is just to change the blend mode. So I'm going to switch the blend mode over here. You can see as I hover through all these different ones how it changes. I'm going to switch it to multiply. That's just going to leave the black outlines of the buildings. And just like we did with the gradient layer, we are going to bring that opacity down, because in the original it looked more like a gray color. And perfect, there we have that. Next we're going to add a new layer. This new layer is going to be a layer for our color block at the bottom here. So I'm going to zoom in because I want to get it nice and close to the bottom. And just select, using our rectangular marquee tool, the area that you want to color block. And I'm going to fill that using my paint bucket tool with black selected. Click inside the box and it's going to change it to black. Similarly, I'm going to reduce that opacity, make it something similar, and hit Command D to deselect. I'm going to just label my layers now, just so that we've got nice organization within our file here. So just calling it color block and skyline. Perfect. Next, we need to add some text to this image. So I'm going to go to my text tool. I'm going to create a text box, and I'm going to type in spring, let's call it 2021. And then below that was www.writetimemovie.com. Now you can change the different fonts and such up here at the top, or if you click on this little file folder looking button, this will open up our options here for the text. And I'm going to just hit Command A, and I'm going to change all of the text to something a little easier to read here. Now, if you notice, the color needs to be more of a light gray, just to make it not as stark. And if I highlight just the web address, we're going to reduce the size of that, just so it's about the same size as the lettering here. And I think that's pretty good. You'll notice that you can change the boldness or put italics on it, or all caps, or really any of your options within here. You can change your size, you can change your line spacing, your kerning, so the spacing between the letters, etc., etc. Now, I'm satisfied with that. So now let's just make sure we've got that right in the middle. So to double check that, I'm just going to go up to View, hit New Guide, and I want a vertical guide at 50%. Now you can do guides at inches, pixels, or percentages, and they'll all work the same. Click OK. And then using your move tool, you can adjust where this goes, and you'll see that it will highlight a magenta color when you've got it in the middle. So the rest of it is just adding text. I'm just going to add one more text box for demonstration. And I'm just going to do the right time right in here. And we're going to increase that font size quite a bit. Let's do 150. And let's just make sure our line spacing is auto. And we had more of a scripty kind of, not quite that scripty. find a nice looking font. Let's do that one. And with this one, I'm going to change the color to more of a gray kind of tone. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to click off of that and then go back to it, double click on the layer itself, and it's going to open the layer style dialog box. Here's where we can add different style effects. For instance, you can add a stroke, which is a line around the lettering. You can add an inner glow, or inner shadow, or inner glow, I should say. You can bevel and emboss, make it look like it's popping off the page. And you can adjust all of those here as well. So you can adjust the opacity, you can adjust the way that you see this bevel and embossing happening. You can do the color contrast. You can play with all of these options here in the layer style dialog box. And that's pretty good. Let's just double check that we've got that right in the middle. There, now it's perfect. Now if we minimize this, with the exception of the names across the top, it's pretty similar. So that's basically how we make color blocks, gradients, change blend modes, add text, add style effects on text, and you can make it as detailed as you would like it from there. Cheers, guys.